Another inmendham presentation. But anyway, yeah, pretty much. Another Jordan Peterson. We'll just do one more, I think, for the sake of the fun of it and such. But the, Stefan Molyneux thrown in for extra. So they are two characters. They do represent a philosophy, and a really awful one. So it's worth the conversation, I believe. So I might as well have it, even if it is kind of only one participant is actually live at the moment of its creation, so to speak. But anyway, so let's play along. I have to hit a button of some sort. There it is.
Hi everybody, Stefan Molyneux from Free Domain Radio. I'm here with Dr. Jordan Peterson, a marriage of two minds, oft requested by the listenership, and...
Whatever. So I do have it sped up a little bit. Maybe I'll speed it up a little less. No, it's the least you can speed it up. Stefan happens to just talk very fast. So, yeah. So by the time it gets to the Peterson part, it'll sound more normal.
thus delivered in deference to your wishes and in great pleasure to myself. He is a professor of psychology at the University of Toronto, actually my alma mater, a clinical psychologist, and the author of Maps of Meaning, The Architecture of Belief, and other works, of course.
Right, and so somebody made some point that I should read this garbage book. Like I should go out and read garbage books. Why don't you, these people who want to defend Peterson, why don't you just quote some of his most brilliant paragraphs? Just quote the brilliant paragraphs of brilliant rubbish. Why don't you post the paragraphs? Well, I despise the Marxism, left-wing fanatical, blah, blah, blah. That kind of crap. I mean, he doesn't have a philosophy of anything but privilege. We earned it even though we didn't.
You can follow his work at jordananbpeterson.com or youtube.com/user/Jordan Peterson videos.
Whoa, he's live. You see his eyes blink? Holy shit, I thought it was just a still image. Oh, he's like a turtle. I like turtles, but no, this isn't a good turtle. Oh, man. Look at it. I mean, okay, appearances don't mean anything. Yes, these guys are like, on average, 5 years younger than me. But, I mean, it's just, this appeals to people. It's just, I just find it a little bit ironic. Not ironic, like impossible to comprehend. Incomprehensible, that would be the word for it. I find it incomprehensible but you see food that people eat and you say, how the fuck does somebody eat that shit? Same thing, sort of.
And we'll put the links to all of those below. Dr. Peterson, thank you so much for taking the time today.
My pleasure.
One of the things...
In the echo chamber. So everybody's technology is a little bit flawed, right? So there's people who keep ragging on me about it. Even these people who are doing this professional thing, getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from their suckers, and they can't manage to do it. I'm doing it on pretty much, meager technology. Fuckers.
And it is, of course, many things. It's sort of a hydra that you and I have both involved our intellectual pursuits in, is trying to capture and remediate some of the significant spiritual, moral challenges that...
Okay, spiritual, moral challenges. Now, is this something for rational people on planet Earth? I find it amazing that these people will gravitate to these people that think of themselves as intellectuals, and they even have a conversation based on that kind of nonsense. I mean, if you want to defend capitalism and me first and all that kind of stuff, I mean, do it in some sort of rational context where you actually examine the world and say, this is the best solution for all the pieces on the board. Yes, it'll dispose of some pawns, but that's just Darwinian reality, blah, blah. Make a rational argument defending your crap. Don't veil it in spirituality and morality. Bullshit words.
Western civilization seems to have been facing, arguably since the 1960s, perhaps even before. And
let's understand the 1960s was when workers were winning and the rich were poorer than they've ever been, right? So we had sort of the best economy imaginable in the sense that working people made a decent living and the rich were within bounds. They were still insanely rich, but it was within boundaries.
Been rapidly devouring your material on trying to diagnose and provide solutions to what seems to be a loss of confidence, a drift from...
Right. So it's all the people's fault somehow. So imagine, back in the old days, Jimmy Carter got hell because he said, that people are in a malaise. You know, because yeah, the world got kind of ugly in the sense that we had this whole fight with the Middle East, and the oil prices went sky high, and everybody had to wait online for gasoline, and it was 10% inflation, and you know, it was kind of grisly. Um, and then the answer to that was this Ronald Reagan. We're going to build ray guns, and we're going to do all this. You know, everybody's not going to pay taxes anymore, and all the boats are going to float. Well, did all the boats float? No. The workers took a huge cut, you know, half their wages, and you know, now we have the rich have never been richer than they are right now. That is richer than, you know, they're pretty much richer than all of the despots throughout history that stole as much money as they possibly could. All the kings, all the emperors, the nobles. That's the world they think is a success.
Objective values and sort of an empty hedonistic materialism the West seems to be consuming itself in. I wonder if
Hedonism in what sense? Again, where is the West doing something particularly heinous? I mean, yes, they're injecting fetuses, but you know, they're fetuses and they're dead, and even if they were alive, they wouldn't be more alive than an inchworm. I mean, it's sort of true. I mean, even when a fetus is at its best, an inchworm could beat it in an IQ test. And these people think IQ is really important, but inchworm IQ, no, that's not so important. So where's the example of all this hedonism? You mean people are kind of sick of doing this stupid picket fence march of death? You know, where where we all sit in our little plastic houses and live our little plastic lives. You know, yes, people have grown out of being just boring as fuck. Yes. Go look at some old pictures of your ancestors and just look at the you know, just look at how much they hate their lives and realize that yes, well, uh, everything that's broken now is broken because of these greedy ghouls, you know, and that's the only problem. We get rid of the greedy, this isn't so bad. Don't get me wrong, it's bad, but I mean, you know, the game of life is a bad game, but I mean, it's so much less bad.
if you, and I know it's a big task because it's a very big and deep book and you talk about this stuff in great detail. I wonder if you could give
yeah, we've heard of some of the great detail that just has nothing to do with reality, where he just tells personal stories about the first time he got a pimple on his dick. Yeah, it's so fucking interesting.
listeners your introduction as to what the ailment is and what can be done about it.
Well, the ailment, I think, is it's multidimensional.
Ah, it's always that. Everybody's always blaming the multi-dimensions. I mean, it's just such a cop-out. Straw man, scapegoat, yeah, blaming those multi-dimensions. Yes, okay, there are more than one problem. Automation, problem. Making human beings completely disposable and useless, you know. We can make a machine now to do exactly what you do, like buy stuff. You know, yeah, we can do that. We can make a machine to buy stuff. We don't need you to do it anymore.
But I'll start with the cultural problem, I think.
Okay. Yes, now this has to be the least of the, on the bottom of the list of the problems with why our world is turning into shit. It's turning into shit because we're living on a credit card, borrowing money, not paying for anything, and all of that, all that usury goes to a tiny percentage of the human race. And so everything we do, every transaction, a big sliver of it is being peeled off and sent to the 1%. So we're paying this gasoline tax, so to speak. We're paying this tax to eat food. We're paying this tax to blink our eyes to a tiny, tiny percent of the human race. And we're doing it because of these stupid ideological lunatics who think these assholes earned it by inheriting it. Ugh, puke.
I think that it's reasonable to accept the idea that the contradiction between the claims of science and the claims of religion.
The contradictions. Now, there aren't any contradictions, right? All of the claims of religion are unfounded in any evidence, complete crap, just silly stories passed down from generation to generation, completely diagrammable as cartoon fantasies. And the science, although some of it is wacky, multiverses and, you know, bent space, silly bent nothing. Yeah, some of it's stupid. But generally speaking, it's evidence-based, especially the part about evolution and where the fuck we came from. I mean, that's as solid could be. And any asshole who thinks we were placed here by a god is a fucking idiot. Plain and simple. He should be called what he is. Retarded. Functionally retarded. Ugh.
Has damaged the psyche of the West. I think that's the right way of thinking about it.
Okay, so we're the West and we all have one psyche. Oh, wait a minute, that's not even close to the truth. You're griping because the other players don't agree with you, so clearly the psyche isn't some consistent psyche, whatever that psyche is. You got gun nuts, you got people like me who ain't gun nuts. You got all kinds of people disagreeing about all kinds of things.
Most cultures in the history of the world haven't been scientific cultures.
Right, and that means something, right? We all should go look at history because you go backwards. Go look at who you were when you were in 6th grade, and then go look at who you were in 3rd grade, and then look at who you were in kindergarten. And pretty much the further back you go, the smarter you get, right? Oh wait, no, it doesn't work that way at all. History's shit. Fuck it. Don't pay any attention. You want to know how to do it wrong? Look at history. You want to learn how to do it right? Look to the future.
They might have been engineering cultures like Rome or Greece, when you're thinking about technologically sophisticated cultures, but they weren't objective materialist cultures. Now,
well, except for Rome and Greece and yeah, all the cultures that actually worked, the ones that actually functioned for hundreds of years, like Egypt.
Our culture is both of those things, and there's good reason for it. Developing the objective materialist technologies, let's say, and philosophy have made us incredibly technologically powerful. And it's much better to live like we live than to live on $1 a day in today's money, which is how everyone in the West basically lived in 1895.
1895. His claim is $1 a day. But yeah, that was before inflation, so, maybe that was okay, technically, when you just figure it out. I mean, the minimum wage when I was a kid was $1.50. Yeah. World changes.
So, and it's also the case that the consequence of expanding wealth because of the development of the scientific methodology has been of inestimable benefit around the rest of the world,
So again, this idea that wealth somehow built something or did something, no, the human beings did. The human beings welded the girders together. Human beings built the Hoover Dam. Human beings did all this stuff. Wealth didn't build all this stuff. It's just such a crock of shit that we need wealth somehow to have huge productivity. Again, total, the Hoover Dam. I can just say Hoover Dam forever and say, look at it, what's wrong with it? Not a goddamn thing. It worked. And we didn't need, some fat, rich jackass to provide it for us.
Now there are estimates that 300,000 more people a day are being connected to the electrical grid, and about 250,000 a day being lifted out of abject poverty, which has halved, more than halved since 2000, right? It halved between 2000 and 2013.
Right, and he's saying that we did that, the capitalists did that, when we know that's just totally inevitable. We got industrialization first, totally exploited the rest of the world, right? We didn't industrialize the rest of the world, we just stole from them their minerals, we stole from them their oil, we did whatever we could just to steal progress. We didn't give them progress. Well, they've sort of figured it out, and they've figured out how to get it themselves, and so inch by inch they're gaining progress and becoming just as gluttonous pigs as we are. And none of that is sustainable, so these two, let's just pretend we haven't pulled half the oil out of the ground and the oil is just a ton of carbon, and let's pretend we haven't burned a bunch of coal, which even puts even more of this black crap into the fucking atmosphere. Let's pretend we haven't done anything when we actually have done. We made a huge mess, and everybody can't have everything. You can't have 7 billion people on planet Earth and they all have everything. It's not going to work, not going to happen, impossible, and your God's not coming to the rescue.
So we're going through an unparalleled time of wealth expansion
So again, this wealth expansion, we've gone through 45 years of wealth transfer from workers to owners. That's what we've done. The wealth has gone from the hands of the workers to the hands of the owners. Period.
Across the world, even though there's maybe rising inequality in the West.
Yeah, maybe rising inequality in every country. Okay, Russia tried to go capitalist, and they came up with a scheme to give everybody a piece of the pie, but they didn't figure out that people have to have a job to be able to keep their pie in the refrigerator, and if they don't have a job, they have to eat their pie, and so everybody ate their pie by selling it to the rich, and now 12 families own 85% of the country. You greedy fucks. Greedy fucks. Greedy fucks. That's the problem.
So
that's the social problem on planet Earth. Greedy fucks. Defended and epitomized by these type of greed baiters.
And I think this is a technical problem, in part, is that the methodology of science, by definition, excludes the subjective from consideration.
Well, it excludes a lot of things, like listening to the cat, it excludes stupid sources of information. Yes, exactly. Retarded sources of information. It's not going to bother figuring out why it's good to marry the woman you raped. Yeah, it's not going to bother trying to figure out how that makes sense in any kind of social construct. It's not going to try to engineer the fucking moronic crap of the Bible into anything called a rational plan, because none of it can fly. There's no flying machines in the Bible. There's not even a wrench in the Bible. Why? Because the Bible can't make anything that works. Not a single frickin' thing that could possibly work as an idea. They're all bad ideas. They're all retarded. The magical Cain's wife just showed up out of nowhere, or else Cain must have been banging his mother. Your story is insipid. Give it up, losers. Shit. And people will write comments defending these turds. And this is how they found their understanding of life on planet Earth. Oh yeah, we need to incorporate more imbecilities from the Bible. Let's feed the poor people more dead birds. That'll fix the problem. Find some more dead birds. And let's do some more of that eye for an eye thing. Yes, because we need some more blind people on Earth. Fucking backward thinking retards.
And the problem is that you can't exclude the subjective from consideration without excluding the subject. And since we're all subjects, that turns out to be a major problem.
Oh, what a pile of crap again. just more crap. We know the subjective is I'm horny. Okay, that's what we know. We know the subjective is just a source of stupid inspirations that come from biology. Oh, I have to pass some gas now. It doesn't have anything to do with doing anything logical. Oh, let's figure out what the best solution is. Well, my subjective opinion is I need to pass some gas. So how about we just do that? How about I just fart? There, does that solve the problem? It's my subjective solution. Good for me. Is it good for you? Fuck.
Tolstoy wrote a book called Confession. And in that book, he talked about what happened to him when he was at the height of his intellectual power and worldwide fame and wealth and status. And, I mean, he was the world's most famous writer. He had everything.
Oh, and I'm sure if I went out and surveyed 100 people and asked for a quote from Tolstoy, I'll get one.
And Russia was really the last society that went through the scientific philosophical revolution in the late 1800s, which is partly what laid it wide open to communism as an alternative. But for Tolstoy, the news coming in from Europe that God was dead was absolutely devastating. It pushed him into a suicidal depression. He was
well, I guess he's a silly person with totally unrealistic expectations for what happens on planet Earth. So here we're saying now the brilliant icons were deceived when no, they weren't. So obviously, yes, most of the German intellectuals certainly did declare God dead. It's just too silly an idea. And Tolstoy couldn't figure that out, huh? Well, that's to his bad. That's to his discredit. If you want to read something, read Dickens, okay? Charles Dickens. He understood the human condition. These assholes don't.
Afraid to walk around his own estate for years because he thought he would hang himself from the nearest rafter or shoot himself. And I think
Did he write that in a book somewhere? But yes, I sort of like to read that story. The story of the lost man who, there's no God, I have to go kill myself. Yes, I'd love to read that. Hilarious.
Reduction of the world of being to the objective world
to the facts. Yes, let's construct our lives as best we can to the facts, and let's try to play the game in a factual manner, just like we would play a pinball machine. We would evaluate the facts. Well, gravity is going to mean this is going to be kind of hard to swing something that way, and I can't bang into that bumper very easy, but I can hit that one very easy. And yes, let's do the math and figure out how to efficiently do this. Like if we were on a lifeboat, would it really make any sense? Do you want to be on a lifeboat with a bunch of people who just sit back and go, well, I guess we just have to pray? Pray, 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 it will solve the problem. There's a bunch of people in the water, there's a bunch of people in the boat, there's a bunch of math to do to figure out who should live and die, but instead of figuring it out, we'll just wait and let sharks decide for us because we're too fucking stupid. I mean, oh, God. Oh, this is such wretched, putrid triviality. It's just so fucking not worth my time. Sorry for yelling.
Reduce people's ability to believe in the reality of meaning in life. And that's an awful catastrophe.
All right. Like there's anybody on Earth who doesn't think there's meaning. I mean, even if they're psychotic, they think there's meaning of some kind, like I'm important or something's important or something needs to be done. So this, I don't understand. How do you miss the meaning part when you're sitting here alive and you kind of can figure out that if I stick something in my eye, it might hurt. There, I figured out there's some meaning here. Yes, there's meaning. Duh. There's no, let's all do something so, when we get to heaven, we can do all kinds of fun stuff up there that isn't even described as anything rational. So if you're a Muslim, somehow it's about screwing a bunch of captive virgins. I mean, virgins stolen from somewhere that are somehow going to be subservient to you and accept your exploitation of them. Oh, well, that's a rational equation. Yes, let's just steal versions from the multiverse, right? We'll go to the multiverse and steal a bunch of young, unsoiled women so we can bring them back for you people to fucking use as your slaves. What a great plan! No, it's a ludicrous plan. Ludicrous. And that's the kind of logic that founds these assholes' understanding of reality. That's why they think it's working. Because they're retarded.
Because it's more accurate to say that it's reduced people's ability to believe in the positive meaning of life, because the negative meaning of life announces itself. And no.
Yeah, duh. Yeah, exactly. So here he's admitting the truth, right? Yes, the negative meaning announces itself. You watch your sister die. Okay, you watch disabled people limp and cripple around. You know that it's going to be your turn someday, which is also quite frightening. Someday it's going to be your turn. It's going to be your turn to have fun. And then you watch your parents get crippled and die. The whole thing, yes, it's a frickin' nightmare. Yes, and the good part is, me horny, and okay, I did the horny, okay, I fixed it for 10 minutes, and then I got horny again, I fixed it, and I got horny again, I fixed it. So what else am I doing here? Oh, yeah, that's it. I'm just doing this rinse and repeat thing in terms of I need, and then I don't need, and just leave me the fuck alone, I'm napping. I mean, yes, the good part that we're paying for with all of this suffering does seem a little elusive to a rational person, I would say. A rational person is going to find the real good, this huge value orby thingy, a little bit elusive. How exactly is it worth it? It's like somebody giving you a galaxy for Christmas, and you open the box and you go, hey, look at that, it's a galaxy. What do I do with it? I mean, I look at it for a while and then I say, well, I've seen it already, I mean, how many times can I look at it before it starts getting a little boring? Right? I mean, anything. You look at it long enough, it gets kind of, been there, done that. Can I do something else? So then what? Somebody has to give you a whole universe next time? And then for 10 minutes, you'll say, oh, this is fascinating. If I poke it over here, it goes blah, blah, blah. And if I do that, But how long is that going to last? That's right, it's not going to last. That's our dilemma. The whole thing is a pile of crap. It's a DNA molecule okay, and that's just getting little bits of bullshit shaved off of it, and we're just the demonstration models. We don't even have anything to do with the life game, really. The life game is really about just modifying a molecule, and it's just using us as the fodder for the polishing of the molecule. We're just the buffing compound. We don't have anything to do with this fucking thing in any real way. Oh, it's just so fucking stupid. But let's ignore the truth and let's keep forcing this turd, okay, to be a motorboat, and it's just never going to happen.
Amount of rational disbelief will rid you of anxiety and pain. But you can certainly subject anything positive you do to the sort of critique that you might sum up stupidly by saying something like, well, in a million years, who the hell's going to know the difference? Or,
yeah, well, that it's sort of significant to realize that, yes, when, as Einstein says, I mean, moron is, doing the same thing over and over again, thinks some kind of different result. Yeah, that's right. You're just plowing us into brick walls, plowing us into brick walls, plow us into a brick wall, plow us into a brick wall. And they're laughing like, you're like, oh, did you see something wrong with that? Why shouldn't I just make something so it can tragically go through a bunch of tragic experiences and then die? I mean, isn't that perfectly rational? And they're laughing from the perspective where they haven't fallen off the tightrope yet, not all the way off. I mean, Stefan had a taste of it, But you had a few more deaths to go, buddy.
Or, we're just dust specks on this little dust mote of a planet in an infinitely large galaxy, and who the hell cares what we do or what I do today or tomorrow? Why is it relevant?
Yes, well, that would be the idiotic swing of a pendulum or something. The idea that you can't see anything that's relevant. Of course it's relevant. The pain and suffering is relevant. The tragedy is relevant. It's all fucking relevant. So how you discount the tragedy of it, I don't know how anybody does that. Let's pretend it doesn't matter. I mean, if there was really a situation where people knew that the button's going to be pressed again and they're going to be the victim, they're going to be in the gurney, they're going to be Mengele's victim, they're going to be doing the stuff they're letting happen. It's going to happen to them. So if there was some real connection where they could see that real connection, that it's really going to be you. It's just a different version of you, but it's the same fucking thing. So you're only ripping your own nuts off. Chewing them.
Why is it meaningful? And because we can't get a sense of the meaning of meaning or the reality of meaning, it leaves us adrift and lost in a world of nihilism and pain.
So again, it's just this false dichotomy that you either believe in this silly fucking bullshit fable of religious heavens and singularities or something, or you're left with nothing and you're a nihilist and you can't figure out that anything has that there's any math to do here at all when there's a ton of math to do.
Not psychologically tenable. Truly not.
And this is one of the great...
Says him. Okay, there's no rationality for that. It's not tenable. Of course it's tenable to accept reality and do your best with your opportunity to make a constructive contribution, perfectly within your means. You'll still be able to eat your dinner and screw your wife and do all the regular things and understand that, oh yes, the world is broken and I will do my part to see that as few victims are created as a consequence. Oh, that's not that hard to do.
Paradoxes, as you point out, there have been incredible step forward in satisfying basic human needs, the needs of what is described in Lear as the bare-forked animal. But at the same time,
So again, these advances have satisfied our human needs, and there's absolutely no evidence of that in any, any kind of real sense, in the sense that, well, there was a circumstance where we had free love in the 60s. And then we had lots of your payback in the 70s and 80s of diseases and all kinds of shit. So this idea that we're living some sort of life where we can do as we please without consequences, idiotic. And the other side to that is that as much as we have facilitated, made some things less unpleasant, other parts are, the consequence of that is the fact that, yes, you survive your cancer to get another cancer. And then to get another cancer, and then to get another cancer. So you spend a lot more time in hospital, than somebody would have 200 years ago. So there's no free lunch, and technology wasn't a free lunch.
Production of resources that satisfies our physical needs seem to have strip-mined the meaning and purpose that we had prior to the scientific revolution, and to some degree.
Right. So yes, and it's true that, but would we want to go back to the only thing we're living for is being able to get to the stream to get a bucket of water and get back home without the mountain lion eating you? You know, is that really the game you want to play with your life? Is that, oh, I have a glass of water to drink, you know, and I have some gristle to chew on, you know, from 6-year-old gristle. You know, I found it under the bed. You know, yeah, living for these meager accomplishments. I mean, why would anybody say, oh, that's, you know, so much fun? Driveway person.
The Freudian revolution, or the idea of excavating consciousness, not to find a soul, but to find usually a somewhat dark, seething, tripartite pit of unwanted desires and frustrations.
Yes, to find an animal, and that's where we are. We're an animal. And we've created not only zoos for other animals, but we've created a zoo for ourselves. And the question is, have we created a good environment for the humans to live in? Something rational. And I would argue that there's nothing rational about, if I was to make a zoo, having some system where I say, well, these are the special wolves, and all the wolves that are born to that wolf, those are special puppies, and they'll have special advantages, and, you know, special privileges. And these over here, because they're born on the wrong side of the tracks, we'll give them all kinds of disadvantages. You know, maybe we'll hack off a few of their paws here and there and give them all kinds of limitations. And this will be a good game to watch. No, it's not going to be a good game. Nobody would do that in a real zoo.
Yeah, well, it's usually considered Darwin, Freud, and Copernicus, right, are the three who knocked humanity off its pedestal. And
let's see, is there any way to say anything about this? That, I mean, first, Darwin was so late and so reluctant that he probably shouldn't even have his name associated with the theory, because he was so he seemed to take so little passion in in the perfect simplicity of it as an answer, that it was really an amazingly simple answer to our existence. And but yeah, so how can anyone malign that truth? It's a hugely significant, hugely important, and insanely evidenced. I mean, the amount of evidence is clearly more than enough evidence. The most proven fact, almost, of all the important facts that can be stated about the universe, this one is as solid gets as a truth. We evolved on this planet.
Left us wiser, I would say, in some ways, but sadder. And I think that...
Right, and you're saying that sadness and that lament of realizing that this whole thing isn't just a game. It isn't just some show by a god. It isn't a cartoon. That all of this mess, these animals eating each other, this is a real problem, not just some circumstance created for our benefit. No, it's a circumstance that pre-existed our existence, and it's a circumstance that is fundamentally not nice. Animals, brothers and sisters killing each other. I mean, this is not nice. It's not a good thing. The game we're playing is not a good game. The DNA's game is a bad game. It's not a smart game. It's not an intelligent game. It's a really bad zoo exhibit with lots of blood and guts on the wall. And admitting that is your fucking intellectual responsibility, not some choice.
This is extraordinarily unfortunate because, I mean, because it doesn't strike me as absolutely necessary. And I guess, and it's also dangerous. That's the last thing, is that, you know, there are people who celebrate the demise of religion and religious belief, and I can understand why, because group-fostered belief can be a terrible...
Oh, it has nothing to do with group-fostered belief. It has to do with because the values are archaic, stupid, ignorant, primitive, moronic, a bunch of bigotry, a bunch of chauvinism, just as ugly can be in terms of having any appreciation for, you know, it's like they're heroes. Jesus, the poor will be with you always. He's come to save them, yet he says the poor will be with you always. They can't even write their cartoon to be at all rational or sensible.
Terribly destructive force. To lay that at the feet of religion, I think, is foolish, because the danger of group-fostered belief is actually more profound than the danger of religion.
Right, so there was nothing intrinsically wrong with religion. It wasn't the fact that the religion was just full of arrogance and we're the chosen people and if you don't believe in this book, we're going to shove a spear through your head. It wasn't full of grotesque intolerance and insane proclamations of your God is God and their God is fake and they're the demon, they're the devil, you know. No, it's not full of that shit. Yeah, that's all the shit it is. It doesn't have any other values in it except be an arrogant cunt.
Because chimpanzees are very affiliative and group-centered like human beings, and they're hyper-aggressive towards outsiders. And so you don't need religion for tribalism. In fact, religion is actually one of the forces that unites multiple...
Yeah, so somebody says, yeah, it unites the tribes because they kill all the other tribes. That's the history of religion. The Crusades, they slaughtered everybody. Okay, you either became one of them, you were either acclimated into the Borg, or you were killed. There's no bright side to that. I mean, this reconstructive history now, he's trying to explain somehow that, no, it wasn't Christianity's fault, it was tribalism's fault. When there were cities like Alexandria and other ones where they weren't, they didn't need to go take over everybody, and they didn't need to do any tribalism. They could still be Alexandrians, but somehow they didn't have any need, okay, to force everybody else to believe what they believed. So this idea that you behave like a monkey no matter what. No, you don't behave like a monkey no matter what. And it's clear that the Carl Sagan types of this stupid planet, the intellectual, you know, they're far less dangerous to any kind of let's take time, let's try to figure out a solution. They're not the guys with the draconian drop the hammer. You are. You're the intolerant fucks.
Tribes over long periods of time. You know, you don't get great civilizations without a unifying religious vision. And you might say, well, yeah, that makes that great civilization prone to compete with other great civilizations in a conflictual manner and makes it internally repressive. All of those things are true to some degree, but you can't blame religion for dividing people without noticing at the same time that it unites them.
Yeah, but it's totally unnecessary for that purpose. The Indian tribes didn't need it. The religion is superfluous to the social organization. It really is. It's totally unnecessary. All you need is some sort of rational society where everybody feels invested. Now, if you mistreat some portion of your civilization or your people, well, clearly they're going to resent it, they're going to fight back, and you're going to have a lack of cohesion in your civilization. But if you create fair, decent rules, then everybody wants to play the game, and they'll play by the rules. It's just about the rules you make for what defines your civilization, whether it's going to fall apart or not.
And so it's to attribute that sort of divisiveness and conflict to religion is a foolish task. But the thing that religion does do, and mythology, and all of the domains of knowledge that are on that half of the equation is that it gives people, it places people in a world that has a purpose. And I don't think that's illusory.
Yeah, well, it's not illusory. It's not fake. Oh, okay, it's a real purpose because religion has something to do with something other than fantasy ideas that no matter how bad it is here on earth, somehow you're going to get a paycheck in heaven. And it'll all be worth it. You know, go to work, do your job. Here, we're not going to give you a paycheck, though. But yes, endure, and we'll just promise to pay you on Thursday. And there's never going to be a Thursday. It's just a sham. It's just a rip-off. It's just a pyramid scheme. It's just a bunch of fucking poison. sold as if it's potato chips.
I think we think it's illusory, but I don't think it's illusory at all. And I actually don't think that's how we experience it. It's just that we've started to doubt the validity of our own experience because we tend to reduce things to dead objective facts.
Well, and the
so this is just so anti-intellectual. It's just so anti-use your reasoning skills to understand the difference between fables and engineering concepts. So just hope yourself a good bridge and hope yourself a tall building and hope. No need to actually engineer anything rationally. Just rely on your gut feeling of, well, God will take care of it. I had a good intention, and my good intentions is all that we need. I don't need to know how to drive. My good intentions will be good enough. Ugh.
the great worry of the 19th century thinkers, as you mentioned, Tolstoy, Dostoevsky, Nietzsche, and so on, was that in the absence of religion, what do human beings cleave to? There was, of course, the promise of the rationalists that if we forego superstitious irrationality and we apply ourselves assiduously to a blank materialistic analysis of the universe, paradise will erupt and emerge. And materially, it's hard to argue.
Well, that was just nonsense. Nobody was promising that. And if you're going to bring up Nietzsche, the argument is that, yes, you can rationally understand that you have some sort of best potential, best effort. And the real question is whether you're so myopic that you see your best effort is only to be the best crocodile in the river, or whether your best effort is to be some force that creates a better exhibit. Okay, so you can work to be a better exhibit maker, or you can be just a selfish asshole who just wastes his potential trying to be king of the hill, win a gold medal, which doesn't really mean anything because your happiness now means the guy who would have won isn't going to be the winner, and he's not going to be as happy. So you're trading a nothing. You're just saying put my name on it instead of somebody else's name. There's no added value in that. The added value is making a system better, not sitting there and capitalizing and taking advantage and putting yourself higher on the hill. Standing on piling a bunch of dead people up and sitting on top of it can't ever be defined as, what a great accomplishment.
With the free market that has been the case. However, and it's a big however, the focus of people and their need for collective identity, their need for a meaning, has created a vacuum left by religion that in many ways more predatory and destructive ideologies like communism, socialism, fascism, and so on have rushed in to fill, which has left a huge wake of corpses.
I mean, that's what it looks like.
Right, and it's completely idiotic to sit there and compare philosophies and put two completely different philosophies, socialism and fascism, in the same category. It's just kind of retarded. I mean, one of them's based on some sense of elitism and birthright entitlement. I mean, it's just nonsense. But anyway, I mean, clearly, again, this is just a system dynamic. I would argue that your capitalism has only a couple of elements that are toxic. But if it's the one bad apple, if you have too much poison in the apple pie, forget it. It's done. It's cooked. And the poison for capitalism is your sense that we must retain unearned entitlement, that birthright is a real concept, that somehow it makes the capitalism work better, when it is completely destructive to the mechanism. It creates the monopolies, it creates the unfair advantages, it completely breaks the invisible hand, and you can't see that? You can't honestly recognize that this is a huge flaw in your plan? That you can't have an earned society where you've created a mechanism that guarantees the existence of a huge pile of unearned assets. I mean, it's just retarded.
To me, that is definitely what Nietzsche and Dostoevsky prophesied. And I think they were dead accurate. I think that's exactly what happened. I think of those ideologies as parasites.
Just recognize there would be no need for a conversation about socialism if you took this corrosive bubonic plague element out of capitalism. If you took the unearned part out of capitalism, there wouldn't be enough bad in it for people to need socialism.
It's on a fundamental religious substructure. And so an ideology is basically a religious system that only tells part of the story, usually half of the story. And so like the environmentalist mythology, let's say, and I'm not saying that in a pejorative sense, because it's half true.
It's only half true. But he calls it a mythology, and he says he's not saying that pejoratively. Like there's any other way to use the word mythology to a rational person. I mean, a rational person is always suspect of, here, I got a myth to solve your problem. You want to file your taxes? You want some help filing your taxes? Mr. Mythology to the rescue, okay? You know that's not going to work.
The environmentalist mythology is that human beings are destructive and adversarial creatures. They're expanding their predatory and predatory raping culture.
Yeah, they're selfish. And like any selfish organism, if you gave technology to any other organism on Earth, you'd get the same result because they can't fix it until they're smart enough to fix it. All right? They're selfish. If you give unlimited power to children, you know they're going to break everything because they don't have the knowledge to know that they have to keep their passions in check. They have to modify their behavior. Clearly, that's the vice of a human being, is this, I want it now. Have it now, pay for it never, or much, much later after I'm dead. That's the best way. After I'm dead.
Into the virginal territory of warm and comforting Mother Nature. And to me, you see that, so you can imagine that, so that's negative individual, negative culture, positive nature. And those are three of the main archetypes. But then here's a counterpoint.
Oh, bullshit. There's no archetype here. You don't have to be a tree hugger to recognize unsustainable behavior in human beings. You don't have to like nature to understand we have to live on it. Okay, that it's the only boat available. And if you're drilling holes in it, you're probably not going to have a very good sail. Okay, so if you're sitting there drilling holes in the boat and you're going to sail on it, that's about as dumb as it gets.
It's exactly the opposite. And it's the frontier myth upon which it drove European colonization of North America. It was the heroic individual pushing forward the peace, sanctity, and security of culture into the wild and treacherous unknown.
So whatever, this is some glorification of individualism as if it made the human race powerful or great, when we know the individuals were sort of just cogs in a process. The cause and effect was going to happen. You didn't need any one of the specific individuals to eventually learn how to make a TV. None of it was dependent on the individuals because the learning curve was going to happen no matter what, and all you could do is slow it down a little bit. And again, this whole idea that whatever gets you somewhere faster or more expediently is worth it, like slavery or something, is, again, that's a stupid man's understanding of reality. It's a perpetrator's perception of reality.
And so both of those stories are incredibly powerful because they're both true. But the problem is that you need both of them to be completely true because...
So there was two stories there. Neither one of them had anything to do with anything real, right? We know that we came from ignorance. We've been acquiring social knowledge at the same time we've been acquiring technical knowledge. And the only realistic, reasonable thing to say is that our social knowledge, our understanding of the human psychology and understanding how to make an environment for humans to live, a safe environment, has trailed our advancement in technology. One knowledge is still behind the other knowledge. Our social engineering is behind our technology engineering. And it seems quite obvious that that's the truth. And that one of the biggest reasons it's behind is because of this stagnating, putrefying religious crap that keeps being thrown into the social dynamic. It's retarding us, and it continues to retard us. It is idiocracy, and you people are feeding it.
Individual is a hero and an adversary at the same time. We're dark and light mixed together, and our culture is tyrannical but provides us with security. And nature is...
So understand that there's nothing in the knowledge base that is dark and white, and dark and black, or good and bad, or any of that crap. Our knowledge can have integrity and have consistency and not be full of hypocrisy and duplicity and all of that crap. So we can logically understand that, yes, my happiness is just as valuable a thing happening in the universe as Stefan Molyneux's happiness or Jordan Peterson's happiness, that as an individual, our personal experience and our goals and our ambitions all have the fact that I need and they need is a fact, and we can all understand those facts. The truth is, though, our play in the game does have different effects, and those things can be judged. It's not about whose happiness is more valuable, the rich man's happiness or the poor man's happiness. The question is who's obtaining their happiness in the most cost-effective way. The idea here is to be sufficiently efficient in your existence, to have a minimal blood footprint for your joy and happiness. I crippled the fewest people possible to have what I wanted. I exploited as few people as possible to have what I wanted. That's the ambition, is to reward good behavior, that is low blood footprint, and discourage, not persecute, but just discourage the vampires.
Our worst enemy, because she's trying all the time to kill us, but at the same time, she's the thing that gave birth to everything. And so, like,
she's the thing. I mean, this whole, so let's just go back to silly metaphors. There's some sort of mother nature. I mean, it's just such crap. People exist because people make the decision to have them, and nature didn't do it. Okay, the sperm didn't make the baby. The psychotic, egomaniacal humans do it. The behavior of the humans. They're the ones giving birth to babies on garbage piles because they've been fed a bunch of mythology that Jesus wants you to have a baby on a garbage pile. I mean, it's just such a pile of shit. Mythology.
What I've observed is that religious systems, and I think you can also say this about the Freudian system, by the way, religious systems represent all of those characters simultaneously, and they provide you with a balanced view of the world, and then tell you how to operate in it, which is the other critical issue.
All right, so this is what people are defending. So when you're defending Jordan Peterson, you're defending some idiot who thinks the Bible is the blueprint. It's a great blueprint. Those stupid, moronic 10 Commandments somehow have something to do with living in a great world. That Jesus' last words, the poor will be with you always. I'm but here for a short while. That is, all of us are here but for a short while. Most of us were here for a shorter while than Jesus was, relatively speaking. He was older than most of the people lived at the time. He wasn't blighted by leprosy. He wasn't blighted by all the fetters. He wasn't, tortured throughout life. Yes, he was tortured at the end. But, so what, by comparison? And here he is saying, I'm but here for a short while. It's okay to spend more money on me. I'm worth it. And that's what he's saying is that's the way to think. That's socially productive. We need more of those kind of selfish cunts in the world, especially as politicians and saviors.
The thing about science, the problematic aspect of science is that it cannot provide a guide to action. And it's partly because in what it strips out, which is the subjective,
of course it can. It strips out what subjective is it discounting. The scientist is saying, yes, I'm doing an experiment. It's called I'm conscious. And yes, I get that whole feeling thing. We can write that down as a fact. Conscious things feel. And they feel good and they feel bad. And they can feel really, 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 really bad. The scientist can write all of that down as facts, okay? He's not ignorant of any values. Values aren't unattainable. The scientist doesn't have a hard time finding value somewhere. All he has to do is, try to punch through something or he can find value almost anywhere. A little pinch. No, there's value. I found some. So this is just bullshit that a scientist can't know reality. Yeah, he can.
Before it even gets off the ground, before it even starts to produce its facts, is where the the injunction to action actually occurs. So the reason that science can't tell you how to behave is because it strips out all of the information about how to behave from the things that it's observing. And it leaves you with the cold, hard facts.
Yes, the cold, hard facts are that, you know, if you're going to subject somebody to torture, you have to have a good reason for it. So that's risk assessment. So how many, you know, when you're calculating, let's give Jordan Peterson the job of calculating when the next bridge is going to be built. And we'll let him decide how many corners to cut and how much risk to take with the workers' lives. And so he can decide that, no, we don't really need double harnesses. We can go with single harnesses. And yeah, the Chinese rope is so much cheaper than the American rope. But yeah, okay, it breaks a little bit. So what? Let's get some of that because it's cheaper. So let you make the decisions of who lives and dies. Okay, and then talk about how you have the right answer. And that somehow the answer isn't always going to be a question that people have to be a little bit analytical about and realize, well, would I subject my children to that risk? Would I sit there and cut those 42 cents off the bill if it was my kids that it was the ones going to fall off the bridge? That would be the simple way to say, how do I do this math honestly? Oh, I guess the honest way to do the math is to say, what if it was my kid?
They're dead facts, and you can use those facts, but there isn't something implicit within them that gives you a behavioral injunction. And then you might say, well, there's no such thing as a behavioral injunction, but I actually believe that's technically wrong as well. So let me give you an example. So I was lecturing to my personality class.
Oh dear, personality class. Okay, a behavioral injunction. So this is like some injunctions are usually something like you send it to a judge and you get him to stall a process because, oh, wait a minute, we have to stop everything because we have a game changer here maybe. And that's sort of like an injunction. So a behavioral injunction would be some reason to pause. Is that what he was saying? There's some reason to doubt that our intuitive sense of self-importance might not be so smart. Would that be a behavioral injunction? Recognizing that, oh, I'm drunk and I probably shouldn't drive because I might just kill somebody driving to work or something, trying to be a good citizen. I might paralyze him, put him in a wheelchair for the rest of his fucking life. Oh, would that be a behavioral injunction? To be rational, to be fair, to be decent? Yeah, I guess it would be. Fuckhead.
This week or last week about Jean Piaget. And I really like Piaget. Piaget is the only thinker I know who actually came up with a reasonable account of the phylogenetic and ontogenetic emergence of morality. And that wasn't accidental because, I mean, very few people know this about Jean Piaget, but he was obsessed with the cleavage between science and religion. And he spent his entire career trying to bridge the gap. That was his goal. And I actually think
So he has admiration for a scientist trying to bridge some fake gap between irrationality and rationality. Faith and reason. Shit. And you people have the nerve to defend this asshole. You have the obnoxious nerve to type comments in my comment section defending this jerk.
Did it in many ways. And so one of the things Piaget said about knowledge, and he was thinking about Thomas Kuhn as well when he was saying this, is, you know, our knowledge structures are obviously incomplete. And now and then an anomaly arises that the knowledge structure can't account for.
Okay, let's just say, so this is all presumptions that I don't even understand. How the fuck are our knowledge structures incomplete? I mean, the story isn't that fucking complicated, and we have the whole frickin' thing all over the place. You can go to the museum and you can look at all the goddamn dinosaurs, and you can see their damn skeletons, and you can see like the little dinosaur inside the other dinosaur's stomach. I mean, fuck. Where is our understanding? Where is there some void where we're just not being told the truth, that we somehow don't understand what's happened on planet Earth for 4 billion years? It really isn't that fucking complex a story anymore. It's really full and complete.
Might be like the fact that the speed of light was the same in both directions of the Earth's movement back at the end of the 1800s. No one could account for that. People thought, well, it's not that big a deal. It's like, yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big, big deal, and it blew the substructure out of Newtonian physics, roughly speaking, and forced.
What? Again, more nonsense, just absolute nonsense. The constancy of the speed of light was some sort of problem. Now, it's really not a problem to somebody who's a little bit logical.
It's forced its replacement. Even it blew the substructure out of geometry and forced its replacement.
It turned out to be a pretty big deal to the citizens of Hiroshima and Nagasaki as well.
It turned out to be the sort of big deal that is when you wake up in the morning and your side aches and then you find out you have cancer. It's like, it's a big deal. It's a major anomaly. Now, Piaget said, well, our knowledge...
So I don't even understand. So there's some major anomaly that frankly, in all my research on physics, I haven't seen anybody hysterical about over this issue. That's a major anomaly that we can't possibly live anymore. We can't function anymore because light has a constant speed. Oh, shit.
Structures are continually blown apart by anomalies. So you look across the history of ideas, you find out that an idea is considered true for a long period of time, and then something comes along that it can't explain and blows its substructure out, and we have to recreate another knowledge structure. And so what he derived from that...
So all of this crap, okay, is premised on this idea that we're always ignorant, that we never actually go to high school and then go to college and then become professors. So we never actually understand anything. So you can't, and that's true for every subject. So there's no subject where we can possibly be sort of complete in our understanding. And it's just such a pile of shit that we know that the human race is evolving intellectually. The knowledge base is becoming more and more complete. Now, yes, it's not complete, but I think we know in terms of the basic dynamics of evolution, it's complete. The basic fundamental mechanisms of the DNA molecule and those are all kind of complete facts. Now, the little tiny details about how every single thing happens, that's not complete, but the understanding the structure of this maze is completely understandable. What the walls are exactly made out of and all that kind of crap, yeah, we don't have every single detail, but we know the picture it draws. We see the maze. It's not that complicated. The game we're in is not a complex game.
That was the idea that what you want to know about knowing isn't the facts that you know. What you want to know are the facts about how you come to know. And so for Piaget, for example, the child was engaged.
The facts that you come to know. Again, this like somehow I don't understand that knowing something is gaining information about it. So it's not just as simple as if there was a bunch of fog in the room and I can't see, that knowing is just getting rid of the fog.
Continually in an exploratory relationship with the world. And so the child, through its actions, was generating information. And out of that information, producing the world of perception and producing their own psyche. It's so like, it was like the substrata of the world was information. And in interacting with that information, you make the world and you make yourself. And so what Piaget was concentrating on doing was to describe...
So that isn't just psychobabble bullshit. This, well, you make yourself out of this, and then you pour some of that on the eye of newt and, tail of frog and blah, 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 blah. That isn't just babble, right? We're monkeys raised in an environment. That's what we are. And we're capable of acquiring knowledge and skills. And there's two sets of knowledge. There's the knowledge of how to manipulate things, and then the knowledge of why you should manipulate them.
That process of information generation, or that process of knowledge gathering, and to me, the process he described is indistinguishable from mythological representations of the hero, because the hero is exactly the same entity, the mythological hero. So St. George is probably the simplest example.
So this is just all more crap about stuff. This is the worst thing that you can do to human beings, is to keep encouraging them to think they're going to be Jedis. That you could just use your Jedi powers. Fix the problem with Jedi powers. It's not how the problem's going to be fixed.
George goes out beyond the confines of the community, so outside the knowledge structure, confronts the unknown, which has this dragon-like predatory face. Because throughout our evolutionary history, when we went outside the boundaries of what we knew, we ran into predators.
All right, whatever this is, right? So you people are really arguing that there's some great unknown we don't know about our existence in the sense of the universe and evolution. We know what evolution is. We know the material evolves, okay, in systems, and that on planet Earth the chemistry evolved, okay, into this replicating molecule, and the replicating molecule will, if given endless time, could endlessly reshape organisms to the circumstances on Earth. It's like a gladiator war, and you're just refining things. And so I've made this analogy before, but you could imagine that it would just go back and forth between gladiators being as tall as they could be and then gladiators being as small as they could be, because there's advantages to both ones in terms of what weapons you can use and how fast you can move, and so there would always be a balance between the thing you're killing and the thing that's doing the killing, and you can change that balance. You can make the food bigger and slower, and then you can make the gladiator big, and then you can make the food abundant and tiny. And yeah, it's just a silly little yin-yang tug of war between what kind of teeth, okay, are going to chew what kind of victim. But there's nothing else happening here. That's what happens on planet Earth. It's just little modifications to a theme, and the theme is consumption, reproduction, cannibalism, addiction. Pointless, idiotic system of just kill yourself over and over again.
Of all sorts. And so it's the predator's detection system in our mind that represents the unknown for us. That's where the symbols come from. And, you know, the dragon is something that has a treasure. It's either a virginal woman or a hoard of gold. And that's exactly the paradoxical situation that human beings face.
Oh, yes, the paradox of want and desire. Such a paradox. I mean, it's just so, I mean, why does this work on people? Who are these people? Again, it's just religious nuts, right? You're all looking for a new religion. Give me a new religion. And instead of a god, we'll make it the golden vagina or something. I mean, it's just such crap. How do people argue that this is some sort of intelligent perspective?
This is when we go out into the unknown. It's a terrible predatory danger that holds the promise of everything. And the myths and the religious structures, the deep myths and the deep religious structures, basically tell people, get a grip and be a hero.
Oh, well, yeah. And that's what we need. Get a grip and be a hero for capitalism. So, inherit more money.
And then there's elaborations on what that means, because to be a hero is a complex phenomena. It's not merely to be kind. It's not merely to be strong. It's not merely to be in pursuit of beauty or justice.
Or to be approved of.
It's all those things.
Or to be approved of.
So let's understand, these guys have no interest in justice. They mock social justice warring. They have no interest in fixing the most obvious flaws in their systems, right? They talk like, oh yeah, we're all for earning it, except most of our, you know, the people financing me didn't earn it. That's okay. You know, my friends don't have to. Amazing. But that frickin' Mexican sure as fuck should.
Yes, well, definitely. You know, what we tend to do is and this is, I think, one of the massive weaknesses of the left. We know through our empirical studies that people who lean towards political correctness, say, are extraordinarily high in trait agreeableness. And agreeableness is a big five trait, that's one of the standard personality traits, and it's basically associated with maternal compassion.
So this is what he calls science, right? So he mocks science, and he does this fake science, you know, where he's going to go 4 steps away from any of the actual data and make all these presumptions that, well, if you're a compatibilist, then you're a comfortist, and then you're an acceptanist, and then you're a I have no standardist, and he's just, you know. So we're all seven steps from Jeffrey Dahmer. You know, so anybody can do this bullshit. Yes, I'm going to pigeonhole you. That's right. I know you're in this hole, and I know they're in this hole, but I'm going to just blend all those holes into one. Yes, that's what intellectuals do. Play silly games like that. Projected games. I'm just going to project you into whatever I want you to be. You fascist.
Well, maternal compassion works really well if you're a mother dealing with children. You know, and it means be kind to everyone. And kind is kin, right? Kind, the word is derived from the word kin. Treat everyone.
Again, this has no scientific basis as far as I know. There's just no reason to believe any of that bullshit is true. There's no evidence that female gorillas, for example, are kinder when they have a baby or something. They might even be more aggressive and more territorial. So again, just more bullshit, that their kindness goes any further than their nepotism. So again, he's projecting some idea that women with children somehow have some big tent view of the world, and they're they're so compassionate and understanding. And I don't think there's any evidence of that whatsoever. They're just a pile of crap just made up by these fuckheads.
As if they're members of your family. Well, okay, treat everyone like they're suffering children. No, wrong. You've taken the virtue so far at that point that it flips on you and becomes a vice, because like women can't treat men like they're suffering children. But it'll turn them into suffering children, or they'll end up with a suffering child as a man, or they'll devour their boys as they grow up by over sheltering and over protecting them. And so
I don't think it's a huge.
yeah. There's way too many parents that are too conscious of their responsibilities, and it's not, the truth isn't exactly the opposite, but whatever. Where's the average kid growing up? Cuddled by mommy or on the dirty street? Cuddled by the drug addicts.
Accident that a failure to distinguish qualities between cultures combined with the rise of political correctness has risen at the same time as the birth rates among women, of course, in the West have fallen. The maternal instinct will find a way, and if it doesn't have a direct object, it may spread to a much wider conceptual base that is dangerous.
One of the things that...
I mean, more nonsense, right? The maternal instinct will have its way. And no, the truth is, if the woman graduates from high school, she has half as many kids. And then if she waits another 2 years, she has 1/4 as many kids. And if she waits another 5 years, she's down to 1. So, yeah, where's the maternal instinct winning? The only way the maternal instinct wins is if the maternal body stays ignorant. So the dumber you make the woman, then the more maternal they are. So it has nothing to do with any kind of maternal instinct. It has to do with recklessness and stupidity. That's what makes children. Recklessness and stupidity. That's the real correlation. Ignorance. Ignorance breeds.
My psychologically knowledgeable friends and I always laugh about is that the very social justice warriors who refuse to admit to the existence of biological, say, psychological differences between men and women act out their femininity in an absolutely stereotypical manner in their political behavior, because they're doing exactly what you just said. They're acting out their maternal behavior. All
right, so this is sort of a straw man argument, in my opinion, when you do these kind of scapegoats. So again, this is the point where I'll just say these guys are just Trumpies. They're just as dumb as Trump, and blah 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 blah. And capitalism is Trumpyism. So I mean, okay. So there's fringe silly people on the left. They have idiotic notions of how the world should be formed, and absolutely silly notions. But it's to your convenience to defend your insane fascist right-wingness by pointing to the most extreme argument could possibly made. Go to the most extreme lefty in the world and say that's who the lefties are. I mean, it's just such a fucking piece of shit as an argument. It's probably one of the listed fallacies. The fallacy that you're showing how big your balls is, by picking on the smallest midget on the other team. No, that's how you show your weakness. When you can't take on the challengers, the real fighters in a cause, and you have to go pick on the fringe retards on the other team. If you're in a dodgeball game and all you're doing is calculate, hey, they got 3 retards over there, this will be fun. And calling yourself the big hero. Oh, yeah, I wiped out the retards. Yeah. Fuck you.
Do is, and you might think, well, that's good because maternal behavior is all kind and wonderful. It's like, no. It's kind and wonderful if you're the oppressed victim that's being protected. But if you're the person...
So again, this idea that maternal instinct kind of goes beyond people's own children. When you see how possessive and insane mothers are, in terms of me first, my kids first. I mean, they'll run each other over to get a cheaper Cabbage Patch doll for their kids. They'll push other kids out of the way. They'll smash them against cement walls. They'll do whatever they have to for their fucking kids get there first. I mean, the frickin' maternal instinct is to cheat the game incessantly for their kid. I mean, they'll sit there and throw banana peels in front of the other kids if it's a race of any kind. They'll poison them. They'll bash them with a club on their kneecaps. I mean, come on. What a crock of shit.
Who's tossed into the dangerous predator category, which would be anyone who's seen as a threat to the suffering infant. Then you better look out, because there's nothing more vicious than a mother who thinks that her infants are being threatened. And it breaks the world into two categories, right?
Yes, her infants. Yes, not infants. Okay? Again, just a grotesque. They're the ones defending that. They're defending this your stuff first philosophy. They're the nepotists, the defenders of the nepotism, the racism, the nationalism. Oh, jeez. Putrid. Well, anyway, it's probably enough. We'll do some more later, maybe, possibly. But we already have the answer, right? I mean, Jordan Peterson, whether he's religious or not, he likes the story. Okay, he thinks the religious stories have relevance to some kind of intelligent human's purpose here on Earth. And I defy any of you lunatics to describe to me in any sense how there's any values in the Bible that can all be applicable, besides the ones that seem to be quite anti-capitalism. The odds of a rich man getting to the kingdom of God are those of a camel going through the eye of a needle. Jesus goes to the money lenders, the whores, and what's he do? He acts up. He acts up in a radical manner. He marches on the Wall Street and tortures it. So the only decent moments in the Bible are exactly the moments where those historic Jedis are actually going after you fuckers. And they're trying to turn those stories into, no, be a Jedi for, something else, when clearly Jesus was more Marxist than capitalist. And yet he talks as if there's value in the story. It's like he didn't even read the fucking book. It's just amazing crap. Yeah, the meek will inherit the earth. And he's talking like, no, the Jedis are going to win. So anyway. I mean, it's so duplicitous to veil himself in Christianity. It's just like Trump doing it, right? My favorite book is the Bible. And he never read it. You all know it. Just a complete lie to placate an audience. And that's all these fuckers are doing. Placate the people that need to hear this shit. And they'll reward you for it. They'll take their inherited money and give you a piece of it. Disgusting. Ugh. God, I hate this planet. Ugh. Real stinkhole.